Well, sometimes it's like you just get fed up. You're like, where the are these Epstein files?
Yeah.
Who the is this? Why is this redacted? Where is it? Who the killed JFK?
Right.
Like, come out with it. What the who killed Charlie Kirk for real?
Yeah.
Like, what is that? Why is that story so clouded in mystery? And why did they pave over the ground right after the shooting? What the is going on there?
Especially when they say he was wearing the same outfit. It would also explain why Terrell Farnsworth violated the crime scene immediately, quite boldly, to remove the SD card from that back footage.
More people are demanding answers to Charlie Kirk's demise and the chilling ties of his public execution to Israel and Jeffrey Epstein. One of such individuals is Joe Rogan, who was recently very vocal about the shady undertones of the shocking events of September 9th at UVU and the cover-up that happened shortly thereafter. Dan Morrell is the contractor who was hired to pave over the scene of Charlie's demise, barely 24 hours after he was announced gone. Right now, he is finally speaking out, and from what he has to say, it's hard not to see Erika in a different light.
So he sends me pictures of right where Charlie was murdered. And he says, we need to put pavers in this place. He says, look, we don't have a whole lot of answers. We're told by, people above us that we've got to put pavers in, today and tomorrow. It needs to be in by Monday.
According to the reports, Dan Merrill's shop is just 2 miles from UVU. He was going about his day when his phone rang. The caller didn't give much context, just that people higher up the chain needed him and his crew on site and fast. Pavers needed to go down at the exact location where Charlie was unalive. At the time, Dan mentioned that he didn't ask too many questions because, like most people in the area, he was still processing the shock of what had happened and he wanted to help. However, what he walked into was something else entirely. Dan claims to have arrived with his crew roughly an hour and a half after that phone call, and to their surprise, the ground had already been excavated 10 inches down. Their job was simple: fill it back in with pavers. No explanation, no context, just instructions from people above his pay grade telling him exactly what to do and where to do it.
They had taken out about 10 inches of the dirt around the whole place, right? Right now you can see where the pavers are. Everything under that, probably 10 inches had been excavated.
Why do you think they excavated so much dirt? You think that they were trying to make sure they got any bullet fragments or anything that was in there?
I wasn't looking at it with that lens, dude.
Really?
I wasn't.
Initially, sources close to the situation were saying the FBI dug up the ground to recover bullet fragments, standard investigative procedure on the surface. But then more information started coming out, and the picture it painted wasn't that of a thorough investigation. It was looking a lot more like a cleanup, because while all of that was happening, insiders claimed that chairs and other equipment at the scene had been moved within minutes of the incident, that spectators and various personnel were allegedly allowed to walk freely across the crime scene, picking up memorabilia and taking pictures for several minutes with no one stopping them. That tents, chairs, and tables present at the scene were either never preserved as evidence or their whereabouts became completely unknown. And then there's the detail that's harder to explain away than any of the others. The camera inside the tent, the one positioned with a direct back view of exactly where Charlie was seated, was reportedly removed immediately after. Not hours later, not during a scheduled evidence collection, immediately.
A member of Turning Point USA, the lead tech guy for Charlie Kirk. He's traveling with him. He's at all of these live events. And that guy meddled with evidence, contaminated a crime scene on camera by climbing up on the chair that Charlie Kirk had been sitting on at the time that he was shot and removing the camera that was behind Kirk's head. We've covered this before. Then he removed the SD card, by the way, and handed it off to one of his colleagues, who then hid the SD card in his hat as he walked away. That's where I store things. Charlie Kirk has already left the scene in a vehicle that was driven by his security detail, which, according to Charlie Kirk, were all Israeli. That doesn't raise any red flags. Now he's got the camera down. He talks to this other guy. I got to get this SD card out of here. Puts it down on the table, and he's frantically trying to remove this SD card, which eventually here he will. And watch what happens when he does successfully retrieve the SD card. See the other shadowy looking guy in the white t-shirt with the sunglasses on, who doesn't want to be identified, walks behind the tent, and there it is. There's the handoff. And in the hat it goes. and then off he goes. What are they hiding exactly? That's the $6 million question here, isn't it?
What happened to the SUV that transported Charlie from UVU grounds to the hospital? Reports are that it was cleaned up and sold off within days.
What happened to the car that Charlie was driven into the hospital while he was still alive? Or better yet, what do you think should have happened to that car, or what is required to happen to a car after someone is assassinated in a car, or like is bleeding in a car and there's evidence? I would have assumed that the feds impounded the vehicle, and I would have assumed that they then impounded the vehicle for further inspection. But that, if I had assumed that, I would be wrong, actually. What happened is immediately after the car was transported to it was towed to a towing facility that's just kind of really around the corner from the hospital. And then from there, on Monday, they had another tow truck come and take that car so that it could get a cleaning and be immediately put up for auction.
Dan Morrell thought he was helping his community heal by showing up with his ragtag crew. But according to sources, his crew laying down those pavers was the final move in an operation that had already been in motion. One that, piece by piece, was allegedly making sure certain things stayed buried. Now, from the looks of it, Dan Morrell did not know what he was walking into. He was just following orders, just doing his job. He thought that he was helping his community. But can the same be said about Erika Kirk, Andrew Colvett, and the new Turning Point leadership?
They paved over the crime scene. I cannot stress this enough as a point, which further illustrates the lack of interest, the apathy of Erika Kirk. Like, that would be at least one point, the turning point. You'd be like, well, this should have never happened. Unpave it. No.
Let's take a look at this comment that has been sparking controversies online. Who just accepts the public assassination of their spouse without a single question, then forgives the alleged murder before there's even a trial, and immediately prances into his CEO position and breezes on with life like it was nothing? Any normal person would be frantically demanding answers and stirring up an investigation, not using the murder as a fundraiser event of the century. The fact she is not being investigated by our government tells you everything you need to know.
I don't even know where to begin. The fact that we were able to pull off an event of a century, like, it's just insane. My husband's dead. Like, I'm not trying to be morbid, but he's dead.
It's weird to say excited.
Describes her husband's funeral as the event of the century. Merch, hats.
We have 50,000 plus hat orders.
Nobody knows why she's out there in a glittering pantsuit in a recreated tent that her husband tragically was murdered, and throwing merch out.
Everyone reads differently, so if someone's acting weird, don't read into that.
Zionists, the Prime Minister of Israel, all lied through their teeth about Charlie Kirk.
Her operation was in Constanta, the epicenter of Romania's trafficking scandal.
We heard conversations to have with a 15-year-old. I'm going to touch your butt.
$8.6 million to their own shell company. What is going on?
We have nothing to hide.
Initially, several Charlie Kirk supporters rallied around Erika after his demise. However, in light of all the discrepancies around her in her past, the majority are finding it hard not to assume that she might be complicit in some way. At the moment, Candace is making bold claims that Erika Kirk is being used as an emotional asset, whose job is to get boosted every time she gets emotional behind a camera. And the most chilling part about this is that Erika is reportedly playing along with this ruse every step of the way. Credible sources have reported that the Department of War was given explicit instructions to boost clips of Erika crying as a priority within 1 hour of her uploads. This is reportedly done in order to change the public's view about her, to soften her image, and really key into the Grieving Widow Act.
Why doesn't he just accept the narrative? Joe Rogan, please just accept the Fed slop. Like I said, no one seems to have less questions than people like Blake Neff, Andrew Colvett, and Erika. Erika really just being what she was described as in that Department of War executive office email. She's just an quote unquote emotional asset that keeps getting boosted every time she gets emotional. Her job is to cry.
I have been married for 10 years.
My husband is a hard-working farmer who is gone a lot. A year ago, I was questioning my marriage and felt like I was losing myself in the chaotic life of work and motherhood. Since finding a church, I recently got baptized. My kids attend Sunday school, and we talk about Jesus in our home daily.
Unfortunately, it would seem that none of this is working, and it's not hard to see why. According to a recent revelation from Candace Owens, Erika was reportedly pushing Charlie to be anti-Israel, a notion which many believe got him unalived in the first place. Erika also allegedly claimed that she deeply disliked the pro-Israel pastors that surrounded Charlie. However, shortly after his demise, much like many other things, she did a complete 180 and began siding with and inviting these pastors in almost every one of her sit-downs on the new Charlie Kirk show.
That Charlie was going to be assassinated. As we were sitting here in Maine talking about Israel and Epstein and what the pressure that Charlie was under, Tucker was like, I absolutely love Erika. He said this publicly 1,000 times, so I'm not revealing anything here. And he was like, she is like hardcore on the anti-Israel train. And that she had gone in on dinner about everything, and that, you know, this is who Erika was. And I was like, oh wow, like I actually never got to spend that kind of time with her. Like I know Charlie's coming to the other side, but I never really speak to Erika like that.
What happens when you tie this data to Erika's dealings in Romania with General Otto Buscher, to the chilling claims that she was trying to groom a young girl named Jill Falcon? The string also goes all the way up to that 1 year where Erika worked as a real estate agent for Pamela Liebman, the reported figurehead CEO of a company that was tied directly to Jeffrey Epstein and helped procure housing wherever he traveled, including his atrocious island. And finally, there's Erika's ties to Next Model, whose CEO, Faith Cates, always had private meetings with Erika, allegedly similar to the private meetings Cates held with Jeffrey Epstein behind closed doors and shuttered blinds. Was Erika Kirk truly ever a grieving widow? But even more importantly, was she ever the woman Charlie Kirk thought that she was? Right now, we want to know what your thoughts are concerning this. Whatever opinions, claims, or revelations you might have, let us know about them down in the comments. In the meantime, do well to hit that like and subscribe button for more updates. Thanks for watching.